Mysterious, slightly suspenseful ambient music begins softly in the background. The Atlantic Ocean is a vast, unforgiving expanse, especially when the sky turns black and the waves rise like mountains. For Captain Mara Hayes, a seasoned sailor at the helm of her supply ship, storms were just part of the job. She'd faced down the ocean's fury more times than she could count. But this storm, this one, was different. It felt ancient, alive, and it carried a secret. Hours earlier, her radio had crackled and died. The world beyond her vessel was reduced to the roar of the wind and the relentless crash of water against the hull. Her crew, though experienced, watched the churning sea with a nervous tension. Then, just as darkness seemed absolute, a flicker on the radar screen, a blip, faint but undeniable. Mara leaned closer, her eyes squinting at the glowing dot. It was a distress signal, an SOS, but the data accompanying it made her blood run cold. The signal was dated 1943, and the coordinates. They pointed to a location known as the graveyard of the Atlantic, a patch of open sea notorious for swallowing ships whole, leaving no trace. There were no islands, no reefs, no other vessels on any modern chart. It was just empty water. "It's a glitch," her first mate, Liam, said, his voice tight. "A ghost in the machine. Has to be." Mara didn't answer. A strange pull, an instinct she'd learned to trust over a lifetime at sea, told her otherwise. The code of the sea is absolute. You never ignore a distress call. "Set a course," she commanded, her voice cutting through the tension. "We're going to check it out." The crew exchanged uneasy glances, but they obeyed. The ship groaned as it turned, fighting the monstrous waves, heading toward the impossible coordinates. The rain fell in sheets, a gray curtain hiding the world. As they drew nearer, the storm seemed to intensify, as if guarding the spot. Thunder cracked directly overhead, and in the blinding flash of lightning that followed, they saw it. A silhouette, ghostly and silent against the raging sea. It was a warship, an old battleship from a bygone era. Rust streaked its hull like dried blood, but it was otherwise eerily intact, drifting aimlessly in the heart of the storm. "It's not on any chart," Liam whispered, his voice filled with awe and dread. "It doesn't exist." But it was there, real and solid. Mara made a decision that would haunt her forever. Prepare a boarding party. "I'm going over." The small inflatable boat felt like a toy as it battled the waves between the two vessels. Climbing aboard the ghost ship was like stepping into another time. The air was heavy, still, and cold. The deck was slick with rain and something else. A deep, profound silence that the storm couldn't penetrate. Inside, time had frozen. Old uniforms were neatly folded on bunks. Ration tins sat on mess hall tables as if waiting for sailors who would never return. In the captain's quarters, a leather-bound logbook lay open on the desk. The ink was faded, but the handwriting was clear. Mara's fingers trembled as she turned the delicate pages, reading entries about dwindling supplies, relentless enemy patrols, and a crew holding on to hope. The final entry was dated June 12, 1943. It was short, a desperate final message scrawled across the page. The storm has us. Instruments are dead. If anyone finds this, tell them we tried. Suddenly, a deafening crackle of static exploded from the ship's old radio. The same signal that had drawn them there blared through the dead vessel, an electronic scream from the past sauce. 1943. A chill, colder than any ocean spray, shot down Mara's spine. Another flash of lightning lit up the narrow corridors, and for a split second she saw them. Faded, translucent figures standing silently in the doorways. The silhouettes of sailors watching, their faces etched with a sorrow that transcended time. They weren't threatening, just present, lost souls forever bound to their vessel. The storm outside howled with renewed fury, and the old ship began to groan, the sound of metal twisting and surrendering. "Captain," Liam yelled, grabbing her arm, "this ship is coming apart. We have to go, now." Mara looked from the ghostly figures back to the logbook. With a decisive move, she tucked the book securely inside her coat. It was their story. It deserved to be told. She gave a final, solemn nod to the silent observers in the hallway before turning to leave. As they scrambled back onto their own boat, the great battleship began its final descent. It wasn't a violent sinking, but a graceful, almost peaceful surrender, as if time, having held it for so long, had finally let go. The warship slipped beneath the waves, vanishing into the dark water as if it had never been there at all. And just as suddenly as it had started, the storm broke. The wind died down, the rain softened to a drizzle, and the waves calmed. The sun, pale and watery, broke through the clouds. On the radar, the coordinates were clear. There was nothing but open ocean for miles in every direction. The ghost ship and its signal were gone. Weeks later, back on dry land, Mara stood in the quiet halls of a naval museum. She handed the weathered logbook to the curator, an elderly man with kind eyes and a deep knowledge of history. He opened it, his brow furrowed in concentration. As he read, his face went pale. He looked up at Mara, his eyes wide with disbelief. "This logbook, "It belongs to the USS Ironclad," he said, his voice a hushed whisper. "This ship, along with its entire crew, vanished without a trace during a storm in the Atlantic in 1943. It's one of the greatest maritime mysteries of the war. They searched for months, found nothing." He paused, looking from the book to Mara. "You're saying you found it?" Mara Hayes gazed out the window, her mind drifting back to the storm, the ghostly silhouette, and the silent faces in the corridors. She gave a small, sad smile. "No," she replied softly. "It found us. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the unknown." If you love stories that explore the mysteries of our world, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you won't miss our next adventure. Until next time, stay curious.